Just the other day, I had a friend reach out to me because one of their kids smashed the joystick on their Joycons for their Nintendo Switch and didn't know what to do. Instead of them buying a whole new set of Joy-Cons, I offered to fix it myself because it really was just a joystick replacement. I've done it a few times before, so it was super easy for me and took maybe 30 minutes. I thought maybe that doing a Joy-Con mod would be something people would want to see on this channel, so today I'm going to be doing a Joy-Con mod, swapping out the joysticks and the shell. The shell swap is a little bit more complicated, but it's a great way to give your Joy-Cons a brand new look and feel. Whether you're tired of the stock Joy-Con look or you just want something to match your favorite game, this is definitely a great option. For this, we're using white shells from Extreme Rate. They're my favorite company to get shells from, and this kind of makes it look like they're the OLED Switch Joy-Cons. For the joysticks, I'm using the Hall Effect joysticks from GuliKit. These sticks are supposed to last a long time, and because of the Hall sensing technology, it's supposed to eliminate stick drift. I wanted to try these out and see how they felt, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, we're going to start by removing the screws from the back of the left Joy-Con. This one is a bit easier, so we'll get it out of the way first. You'll need your Y driver for this. Make sure to put these screws in a safe place. I have a magnetic mat that I use to organize my screws, but you could get a small dish or bowl to put them in because you do not want to lose them. Then you're going to gently pry the back cover off of the Joy-Con. If this is your first time doing this, you might need to use a tool to help pry the pieces apart, and be careful not to damage the ribbon cables inside. Actually, the entire time you're doing this, you need to be very patient and move slowly to make sure that you don't damage anything. I find the best way to open the Joy-Con is kind of like a book. We now need to detach anything that is connected to the original shell so we can swap it. I'm going to start with the back part because it's relatively easy. Now we need to switch to the Phillips screwdriver. Unscrew the side rail from the back of the shell. There are some ribbon cables connected, so be gentle. Remove the release button and then put the back of the old shell to the side. Now grab the new shell and return the release button to its rightful place. At this point, you can reattach the side rail to the back of the shell. Now there are some buttons on the side rail which I had previously swapped out to match the transparent red and blue that I had on these Joy-Cons before, but now we're going to swap them out for black ones. Then we're going to just screw this back together and be done with the backside. The next step is to take the battery out. You might feel a bit of resistance from the adhesive that is on it the first time you do this. It is recommended to detach the battery from the PCB, but honestly, I always struggle with this for some reason, so I just kind of left it. Just be careful. Next, you're going to start removing the other buttons and unscrewing the middle piece. Flip it over carefully and unplug the ribbon cables. Watch out on the latches on these as they're really easy to break. Then I'll just detach the ribbon cable that connects the side rail so it's out of the way too. Now I'm going to do the swap of the middle piece. I need the left trigger and the middle plastic piece for the Joy-Con, which in this case is black. You just need to pop the trigger out by pulling backwards on it. There's a spring in there, so make sure you don't lose it. Then you'll unscrew the button and transfer it to the new middle part. I find this is one of the hardest steps. Balancing the springs and getting the trigger snapped in place without losing said springs isn't always easy. I got it first try here, but I promise that's not how it went the first time I did this. Now we're going to transfer everything to the front part of the Joy-Con shell. After I prep the left button, I begin to carefully detach the remaining ribbon cables and unscrew the PCB. I first insert the minus button and reattach its ribbon cable. Then I insert the left button. It also has a spring, so be careful when doing this. Next, it's time to remove the joystick. Since we're going to be replacing this, I'm going to set the old one off to the side and grab the new one. Be aware of how cables are crossed and layered, as if they're not oriented properly, it could lead to the Joy-Con breaking or you not being able to attach them, and no one wants to redo steps. Okay, we have the joystick screwed in now, but the left button fell out, so I'm just going to pop that in again real quick if this silly little spring will cooperate. Now, we get the new buttons and insert them into the shell. Depending on the Joy-Con shell you got, this might be a D-pad or the arrow buttons. Luckily, these only go in one way, so just line them up and you won't have to worry about buttons being upside down or anything. Then put the little rubber cover thingy back on, and now it's time to move the PCB and the stuff that's still attached to it. First, we'll align the PCB and insert the rumble motor before screwing it down. Make sure to not over-tighten your screws, as this could lead to breaking your PCB. Once that is done, we can reattach all ribbon cables, including the side rail and left trigger that is attached to the middle piece. Be patient with this. It might take a couple tries. I also recommend using tweezers or something, as it makes the process a lot easier. Now that your ribbon cables are attached, you can screw the middle piece back in. I know this is tedious, but we only have to put the battery back in and close everything up. Make sure to be gentle putting the back cover on and that it's lined up with the holes. You'll now switch back to the Y screwdriver for this. and then bam, you just modded your first Joy-Con. Now before we move on to the next one, I recommend connecting your Joy-Con and testing it. Make sure that all the buttons are working and recalibrate the joystick. You can find this in the settings. If it's all good, you're now ready to move on to the right Joy-Con. This one is essentially the same process, but it has one little extra step. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even call it a full step. It's just kind of something to be aware of. The process for this is going to start the same as the other Joy-Con, but the NFC reader is in this one, so there are just a couple more pieces you're going to have to remove with this. I'll walk through the things that are the same pretty quickly. Unscrew the back shell with the Y driver, switch to the Phillips driver and unscrew the rail from the back of the shell, swap everything over to the new shell, and don't forget to replace the side buttons if you want. Next, take the battery out, detach the ribbon cable for the middle piece, and then replace the parts in that. There's a sensor here that you can just move out of the way. Once that's done, we're going to unscrew the joystick and the PCB. And now remove the PCB, the motor, and the NFC reader. It was pretty stuck for me, so I just used tweezers to get it out. Now we reassemble in the reverse order we took it apart. After putting the NFC reader in again, I kind of just folded everything back into place because I didn't really unplug anything. This made the process a lot smoother for me. Oh, and make sure to insert the Hall Effect joystick instead of the old one. See, look, that wasn't too bad, right? You're a pro. And again, everything is the same after this. It's really just that NFC reader amiibo thing that is the issue here. Once you have this Joy-Con done, make sure to do the same tests and calibrations, and then there you go. You basically have a new set of Joy-Con. Now this was a bit of a different style of video from what I usually do, so let me know if you liked it or if you have any questions. And hey, at the time of making this video, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, but if you're not convinced yet, you can watch this video right over here.